Good evening. It's Sunday night at 7:01, which we will explain in a minute. It's WOSFL Weekly. I'm Jonny Baillie, delighted to be joined by PG. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I am literally sweating. So as you know, I had a 5K race today, and then me and my mate went to the pub to watch the Celtic and Hearts game after it. I waited 13 minutes in McDonald's for chips, which nearly made me miss the train. Had to run to the train, and then I had to go into Sainsbury's to get bread for the kids for their breakfast in the morning, and then run back from Sainsbury's to my house. And I've just made it a minute late, and I am sweating bullets. I don't even have my pyramid promotion stuff off, so I apologise. You could get
I
some.
thought you, I thought you wore that all the time. I thought that was
Oh,
just your normal get up. You just wore
honestly,
it.
honestly sweating here, and I apologise for anything I'm going to say tonight because I'm 6 pints deep, and who really knows what's going to come. So sorry about
Do you know the good thing? I was thinking about this earlier. I was making the dinner, and I was just kind of uploading the scores, the pictures of the scores for everybody, because it's easier than having to type out the tickers. This is a massive thanks to the West of Scotland Facebook page that have they cottoned on yet that I'm stealing it after
that.
Facebook page. To be fair, we're giving back on side free advertising as well, so there's nothing really to complain about. But I was doing that and I was thinking, I've the wee man all day today and I was busy last night, so I've not even had the chance to look at that much as to what's going on in the last couple of days, apart from just seeing the results and reacting to them. You're three sheets to the wind, so
Aye.
this could be this
My,
could be
my
a
wife
fun
said to me,
episode.
my wife had like everything set up for me coming in, and she was
Oh,
like,
by the way, this
she
is
said,
Gordon.
I know she's top drawer. She said to me, she messaged me when I was on a train. She said, text your, my mum and dad are bad for turning up. Right, my brother's back from America with his wife. So my mum and dad turn up at the house all the time, and she was like, "Text your mum, tell her not to come." And I didn't, and she's like, "What are you going to do if they turn up?" And I'm like, "We're getting told to get to." But hey, look,
Right, we're here. We're
we're
here. We're
here,
ready to go.
we're
Right,
here.
listen. I see we've got a few comments in the chat already, which is great. As always, if you're watching along with us, get in touch. We're going to kick off the show with PG's going to tell us a wee bit about his trip to Rugby Park last weekend. So if you've got any comments, I see Craig and Cycling Chainsaw Chap has put in a couple of comments about the Talbot stuff already. So that's great. So anything you want to ask PG about last weekend, then get in touch. In general, back to loads of league games this weekend, which was class.
Finally,
PG, I think
finally, I know, mate.
third division and fourth division had full cards, I think. So that's great. So we'll discuss all of that as well. But before we get into it, if you are watching, remember, please hit the like button on YouTube. We know that there's two different screens now. One you can watch is mobile friendly, and the other is desktop friendly. If you happen to click on them both, please like them both because it does make a difference. So double likes are much appreciated all round. And of course, subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. If you're listening to me through your AirPods, my dulcet tones, if you're trying to get to sleep, if you're struggling, then again, download the episode because that matters to us as well, and rate and review it on your podcast networks. We are sponsored, as always, by the great folks at Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, at GLA Chauffeurs, and of course, Gary and the team at VSN Sport.
And
Okay, Pete.
also, and also, Johnny, we're going to be hopefully for this week, we're going to be aired not live, but later on East End Community Radio. So make sure give East End Community Radio a wee listen as well on whatever platform you can listen to them.
Do we know when it will go out?
I'd asked Toby to do it on a Tuesday, and I was supposed to send them last week's, and I had an issue with emailing it, so I will try and fix this week's. But it should be Tuesday night. It should be getting played on East End Community Radio.
Brilliant. Top draw. Get a new audience up in the East End of Glasgow.
Correct.
Right, mate. How was last weekend?
Do you know, it was actually, in terms of...
Just to paint the picture for the listeners and the viewers, you were there in official capacity representing Pyramid Promotions and doing the media stuff. You weren't just there as a punter, so no. a good perspective. Give us it.
I think that the Talbot they did themselves incredibly proud. I thought that the commitment and the effort that they showed was unbelievable, and I can't praise Tucker and his team enough. I thought the guys were excellent. As most people who listen week in, week out know, I'm a Celtic fan. I thought Celtic were a shambles. But even Celtic being a shambles, the fact that the Talbot were able to keep them to 1-0 to the 85th minute. I mean, you're looking at Ross Clark, you're looking at Neil McPherson at the back, and there's so many others that I've not named and I won't name, but they were just incredible. The effort was unbelievable. And I actually, fortunately, managed to get to ask Martin O'Neill a question in his press conference at the end. I was the only person that was actually interested in asking him what he thought about the game. Everybody else was transfer stuff. And he spoke very highly of Tucker and his team. Said that he thought they were excellent. He said that they've got a lot of players in the team who could play at a higher level, which I think most of us would agree with. I just think that they were an absolute credit to the level. And I know they never won, and Tucker made the point when I spoke to him after it that it was, in a sense, glorious failure, but unbelievable.
I thought that was class when you asked him where. I think it was you that asked him where does it rank in
was me,
in his achievements. And he said, well, obviously the A United one's better because we won. It's such a tummy full answer, isn't it?
And it's honestly, I thought the Talbot were just a credit to themselves and a credit to the level, and it shows what quality we've got at this level. So, really, really well done to them, and I think that we can't praise them enough for it.
No, they defended so well. Like, they were so narrow, so compact. They just stopped anything that was. I heard Neil spoke to our radio, the Now Ayrshire radio, and he was saying that the plan was to give them the width and restrict them through the middle, and they carried it out to a T. Do you know what I mean? And that's why, if it'd been down to me, I'd have gave Neil the man of the match.
I said that to him. I said that he was brilliant.
Just because you know yourself as a centre half, it's your job. Sorry, I'm having issues with this camera. Keep moving about. It's your job to make sure that if that's the plan, is to allow them wide and keep it really compact in the middle. You've got so much to do as a centre half, making sure that the gaps are narrow between the fullbacks and the centre halves. The gaps between the midfielders in front of you are narrow, so they can't play through. Do you know what I mean? And you're constantly communicating everything to your teammates and stuff like that. So it's maybe just, I don't want to sound like one of these coaching numpties on X, but it's maybe one of these things that people maybe don't see is all that extra stuff that Neil, and no doubt his centre-half partner as well, would have been carrying out to make sure that they were so organised.
They were excellent. And the thing is, like, I did the kind of highlights package on our show, and hopefully people can go and watch it. I was clutching at straws to get much that the Talbot did in terms of an attacking sense, right? But you're playing against Celtic, you're playing against international players. This is the bulk of a team who pushed Real Madrid Bayern Munich close to extra time over 2 legs last season.
They threw with Bologna on Thursday.
I know. They were incredible, honestly. And it was really nice. It was really nice to get to meet Craig McGee, who's a massive supporter of the show and somebody we really appreciate. And it was great getting to meet him. Also, Cycling Chainsaw chap puts, and I'll use it's his words. Talbot played well, restricted Celtic, but Rugby Park playing surface is like a junkie's carpet. I don't think it's that good. I thought it was horrific. I appreciate they're ripping it up next season, but I could not believe how bad the surface was.
Was it bad when you were down on it? Was it?
Do you remember the old green Brillo pad type surface you used to get like 15 years ago? It wasn't too far away for that. It was awful. It was terrible. Really? Terrible.
Not good. But as you said, we had a bit of an argument in one of our group chats. One of the boys was I think he was just trying to play devil's advocate, saying that how the Talbot have no even tried to lay a glove on them and stuff like that. And we had a wee bit of an argument about it, because what do you do? Do you come out and play expansive and get horsed 10-1 like Exeter did against Man City, or do you? Because you're still out at the end of the day, regardless of whether it's 10-1 or 2-0, you're still out. But in reality, they were never going to win. So it's having that in the back of your mind, and I think it's about coming out it with some credit, which the praise has been unanimous across the board.
Your 5 leagues of difference, and in that 5 leagues, the difference financially is incredible. I mean, you look at us being at Yoker, we lost 5-1 to Muirkirk last week, who were 2 leagues above us, and don't get me wrong, 5-1 was probably a bit harsh, but they comfortably deserve to beat us. That's only 2 leagues with. They might pay boys £50-60 a week, and we might pay boys £15 a week. That's a minimal difference when you look at the Talbot compared to Celtic. Celtic have spent
Well, I
11
mean, you
million.
just need to look at it on the park on Sunday. So you've got Talbot. I think they paid £1,000 for Kel McElvoy for Bonnet, and then Celtic have got Balikwisha. It cost the guts of £5 million. Do you
And
know
I
what I
think
mean?
I think Kyle might be
On the
better
same
than him.
park. And I
I
know what
think,
one I would rather have.
I think Kyle might be better than him. He probably did more in the game.
I
But no,
know.
they were just a credit to the level, really well.
Aye, and it was just surreal. It was a surreal experience, and I hope it spurs. I hope it spurs everybody in the region on. You know, like we're seeing improvements made by all clubs. Like I know I'm Ayrshire based. PG, you might have a better visibility up in Glasgow, but you look at the stuff that Whitlets are doing off the park, that Ardere are doing off the park, that Dorai are trying to do off the park, or Drossen have already done. You know, like, and this is all because we've got teams like Auchinleck and stuff like that pushing the level forward that's dragging everybody else up with us. So
Well,
it can only be good for our level as a whole.
I look at it in terms of context. There's I'm in a group chat with guys for my son's football team, the dads for the football team, and they're saying, "Oh, before the game, they know I'm going to the game. They're saying, oh, 9-0, 10-0 Celtic,' and I'm like, that won't be the case. Like you look at Darvel beating Aberdeen, then I know Hearts beat the Talbot 5-0 a couple of years ago, right? But then you've got, I know they're no longer on our level, but Clydebank go to Easter Road last year, lose 3-0. If it's no for an early goal in the first half, an early goal in the second half, they're not going to win, but it's a tighter affair. People are, ignorance maybe a bit strong, but they're ignorant to the quality at the level, particularly the top end of the level, and there's some amount of good players at this level.
Even the commentators were still referring to it as juniors
I know.
during the game. Do you know what I mean? And it's just wee things like that annoys me. Like
Johnny, it breaks my heart that on the BBC, if there's a big game for a West of Scotland team, that they pull out all the usuals who have no idea who plays, and then they've got guys like myself, like you, like maybe Scott McPike at SM Media, some other guys, even managers like at the level who could actually offer a proper insight to the match. Well, no harm to them, but these James McFadden, as great as I think he is, he has no idea who Neil McFarlane is. You know what I mean?
No, Neil McFarlane.
Oh, Neil McPherson. I don't even know I don't know who Neil McFarlane is, to be fair. But Neil McPherson, I mean.
Neil McFarlane used to play with Hearts.
I know, I remember him.
Hearts and Airdrie, I think he played with Airdrie as well.
Yep, I played with Neil. I played with Neil at Airdrie. Nah, I did, aye.
Was he wasn't he was he English? He was English, wasn't he?
No. Well, it might have been English, but he was Scottish accent, I'm sure.
I thought he was English.
I played
Anyway, a great
Oh,
weekend, and like I said, it's great for the region. But they got back to business this weekend, yesterday, sorry, which we'll come on to later in the show. But well done to Talbot. Thanks for all the comments. We appreciate them all. All just kind of saying the same things, which is great. Craig's just saying he was glad it was over. And he feared for the game at the weekend. We kind of spoke about that in the radio this morning. By the way, just when you're saying about promoting the region, just to give my wee radio show a wee shout out now Ayrshire Radio. If you're down in Ayrshire between 10 and 2 every Saturday, the first hour, we talk exclusively about the West of Scotland Football League. So you can get an hour's worth of chat about it there with Gary Holt and the guys in the studio. We actually had Stephen Swift on yesterday ahead of his game against Glenafton yesterday. So sorry, PG, just a wee shameless plug for my segment.
Look, you know me, anything that promotes this level, I am happy to be mentioned on the show.
I know, definitely. Right, okay, PG, we'll jump into the games for the Premier League last weekend. And I suppose what from yesterday, and I suppose one interesting caveat to the Auchinleck situation is Troon now move 8 points clear at the top after coming from 3-1 behind to beat Shotts 4-3. And Troon also play on Friday night. They play Renfrew on Friday night, so they could potentially be 11 points ahead of Auchinleck before Auchinleck kick a ball again in the league.
I know, and obviously the Talbot have 5 games in hand by that stage, but there's no guarantee that you're going to win all the games. And I know that we'll touch on it. Talbot had a good result against Thorneywood yesterday, but Troon, you've got to praise them. I mean, they've won 12 out of 15. That's at this level, that's contention to win the league, and I think that a lot of praise has got to go on them. I still, if I had to bet, I would still be putting my money on the Talbot. But for talking sake, say Troon win on Friday, Talbot lose on Saturday, you're 11 points with 4 games in hand, and it's a very different matter.
When does that change? When do you start then thinking, hold on a minute,
Well, do you know it's funny you mention that. As I said, I was at the pub watching the Celtic and Hearts game with my mates, and I'd said to a couple of my mates, well, they were saying, "Oh, Celtic should be beating Hearts, whatever." Right? And I know it's off topic a bit, but I was like, "Well, when do you take Hearts seriously?" I mean, they've been ahead. They've been top of the table since September. Troon have been top of the table since August. So when do you take? When do you really say, "Well, Troon are definitely title contenders"? I think they are, but
I
they've
think they're contenders, but and it's somebody. I think Craig's mentioned there about Talbot potentially they'll be playing multiple games a week as well. I mean, that's going to start in
they've
well,
got
about
19,
months
19
now,
league
won't
games
it?
left
I know.
and cup games.
So 19 league games. They've got the West Cup to squeeze in as well. Craig will maybe tell us he's still in the South and the Scottish Juniors. I don't the Scottish Communities Cup, but it's a lot to absolutely squeeze in, and it will because you get these weird games during the week. So Troon are just doing the right thing and great character to come for 3-1 down because shots is not an easy place to go. So to score 3 goals in the last half hour to win the game
Nah,
must have been a great feeling.
shots don't lose many goals as well. I mean, I know they're in the bottom half of the table. I'm kind of almost contradicting myself. They've conceded 25 goals in 12 games, but they're generally a team who you do not put four past. It's not a team that you go and do that to very often. It happens occasionally, but it's not a team that happens to very often. And I think that away from home, big park, windy conditions, not the best. That is a real marker they've laid down because Troon, you won't get many teams that will be able to claw back 2 goals for Troon. And I think that's a really good result for them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A team that I was looking at today in terms of form. Pollock now three
Brilliant.
wins,
Yep.
3 wins on the bounce now for Pollock. It moves them right up into the contention with those top 8 spots. Again, like I said, I've been really busy today, so I've not got any my traditional manager updates. But a great result beating Rutherglen 4-0, moves them up to 8th in the table. And I said to Josh, I was just texting back and forth saying he's a flying at the minute. He says, "Aye, whatever's it's just clicking now, and hopefully it continues."
Well, we said at the start of the season that Josh would be a great addition to Pollock, and to be honest, credit to Maxi. Maxi is allowing him to put his ideas into place, and that's the sign of somebody who is willing to be a good manager and allow his coaching staff to do their job. And you're now seeing the kind of fruits of the rewards of what they've done. I mean, that's 3 league games in a row they've won, 4 games in a row they've won, including the cup game. And they're definitely putting themselves in a position. They've got a game in hand on Arthurlie, who Arthurlie obviously losing yesterday. They're in a wee slight dip of form. Pollock have really put themselves in a position where they're going to get themselves promoted. And I think that if they continue as is, then they'll definitely put themselves in the reckoning for the top 8.
Aye, and in terms of Rutherglen, that's 2 wins for 12 in the league. I think it's probably any slight chances of them fighting for those top 8 is probably a bit too far for them this year, and it's just about building for next year.
I think that St Cadoc's and Glencairn are definitely 2 that you could say have no chance of making the top 8. But they've got the remainder of the season to build on it. They've got experienced management. I think that they're teams that are going to benefit from being able to just go and try and build for this season and see if they can add a wee bit next season, as they'll know what they need to do in terms of trying to stay in the Premier League. But it's going to be, I think it'll be a tough remainder of the season for them.
Aye, and you touched on St Cadoc's there. Take a bit of doing 6-0 away to Largs.
I'm not surprised. I think that I hope I'm wrong, and I'm kind of like Hugh Keevins in terms of the junior world. I'm wrong quite regularly, but I think unless something drastic changes, St Cadoc's will slide down the divisions. They don't have the finances that they'd had over the last few years. They don't have a home. They don't have a big fan base. I think they'll be fortunate to be able to stay in the division next year, and I think they could drop down.
It'll just be interesting to see what their team looks like next year. I think because they have still got a wee bit of.
I've still got some quality in there.
They've still got quality in the squad. They've still got likes of Jamie Wilson, Scott Ferguson. So it'll be interesting to see what their team looks like next year. I think that'll really dictate where they go next year.
And you look at, like, you're talking about Jamie and you're talking about Fergie. I cannot see I'd imagine they only have 1 year deals, and players are that
I'm
quality.
surprised they've stayed, to be honest. Like we've all heard the rumours about the situation at St Cadoc's and stuff like that. So I'm actually surprised that they've remained.
They won't
to be
be there.
honest.
They won't be there next year unless something drastic happens as well. And it's a shame because I don't really put the blame at Gary Muir's door. I think that they're in a position where there's been a lot of upheaval in the club at the top level, and it's a really difficult one for them. But they still have quality. They shouldn't be maybe losing 44 goals in 14 games, but
It's 11 in 2 weeks, isn't it? Because they were 5-5 with Atherley last week. So, and you said Atherley there just having a wee bit of a stumble, losing 3-2 at home to Beath. Again, this is just going to be this. I was talking about it last week when we had Kevin on, just about how tight it's going to be to squeak into these top 8 spots.
Definitely, and Atherley, I know they can't get. Excuse me, they can't get promoted this season. Obviously, they're looking to move ground and stuff, but they've picked up 1 point out of the last 12 in the league. You're looking at below them. Pollock are really starting to turn it on a bit. Johnson Borough again. I know they did a good win yesterday, a tight win, but a good win yesterday against the Rock. They're a team who are going to pick up points, and they will be in the top 8. Hurlford, I still believe, even though they're 6 for 6, they're a good enough side to go over to Atherley as well. I think they could maybe drop in the league. But again, ultimately, it doesn't. Other than personal pride, it's no the end of the world for Atherley not finishing the top 8 because, like I'd mentioned, they're waiting to see what happens with their ground. But they need to start picking up results pretty quickly.
And I know you touched on the amount of games that Auckland's got, but Johnston Borough the same. They've got 21.
21,
games.
I know.
It's going to be. Kerry's hopefully he's got a couple of paracetamol handy to try to fit all those games in for them between now and the end of the season. Craig just mentioned there that a wee bit of a shot was going after him picking up a point against Cumnock. I think that's 10 on the bounce now. Cumnock without defeat in 90 minutes. The only one that they technically lost was to Troon on penalties in the West. So again, it's another not losing the game for Cumnock, and it keeps them right in the hunt. But I don't know if you saw, but Stevie Swift did sign a new deal.
So him and Southie have signed a new deal out at 27
to next year. So that's obvious. And we, again, like I said, we spoke to him on Saturday morning, and I suppose it's just about building into the Lowland League West now and seeing where that can take them.
What was Swifty saying when you spoke to him in the radio?
It's really interesting, PG, right? Because we'd obviously they haven't lost a game in 90 minutes since the Talbot game, the Scottish Cup game. And
they threw that away.
And I don't know if you remember, but they'd lost a 95th minute goal against Renfrew, I think, to get put out the Communities Cup the week before. And it was interesting because he said after that game they had some really frank discussions about whether they were they were going in the right direction and they were the right folk and all. Sounds as if it was pretty serious conversations that they were having within the club. And then whatever's happened, they said that was just a real catalyst for us. He felt that they weren't fit enough in terms of their output, so they've been really working them hard. And obviously their defensive record is shone through there. They've got the third best defensive record in the league. I think Johnston Borough are behind them, but they've obviously only played 9 games. So that's obviously been a big change for them. But he says that result against Auchinleck really has been the catalyst for them changing things and kind of spurring them on and getting to where they need to be. And this run they've went on's really, really good.
Well, let's not kid on that Cumnock have spent a lot of money to get to where they are. And I'll be honest and say that Swifty and Southie hadn't done in my eyes, in terms of what they've spent, hadn't done a good enough job. 7th last year, and I appreciate since the West of Scotland League was created, it's the highest finish. But this year, I think you're seeing what they're capable of, and I think that's something that Swifty and Southie will be really happy with. This is more where a team who are spending that kind of money, that's where they should be in that region. Even if they finish in the top 5, I think that's been a successful season for Cumnock. And I think that, like you're saying, if the frank discussions, it's clearly made a difference. And I think that they're really getting into a level of where they probably should be based on the backing that the committee have given them, because I know that the committee down there are absolutely first class. So it's good to see them being repaid. And to be honest, for Swifty and Southie, it's good for them to be repaid by the players for, let's be honest, they've dished out some good wages. So they're definitely being repaid now. And I think they'll be disappointed to have dropped the points yesterday against Glenafton, who are struggling, but it's a local derby. Sometimes these things happen.
Aye, but I mean, I think as well for obviously Stephen knows the Lowland League. It's going to look very different from what it is in the past. But he knows the Lowland League. He knows League Two, run about the kind of Scottish football as well. So he's a good person to have in charge in terms of knowing what's required in that division as well.
I would say so. He's obviously his BSC team. Or Broomhill, whatever.
Remember him?
No, I'm sure he was BSC at the time.
I know he was. But then he went back to Broomhill, didn't he, when they went to Martin?
Because you even look at like Nehart and Ferry and stuff, but they had considerably more finances and finished lower down in the league than Swifty did with his BSC team. So it is a level he knows. I think next year's a bit different as well. You're looking at, it's basically an extended West Premier League next season where Clydebank coming back in it, but it's a team they know, and then maybe you're looking at Celtic and Cali Braves or Cumbernauld and stuff like that. So it's I think he'll be in a good position next season.
Yep, and then the final game in the Premier League, Conan beating Renfrew 2-1. I don't know if you caught last week's episode with Kevin stepping in for Dino at short notice. I thought Kevin was great. It's the first I've ever spoken to him. I thought he was really good and gave a really good insight into what's going on at Conan, and that's them sitting now sixth in the league. And again, they're probably a club that in name and stature they should probably be in that Lowland League West.
I think that he's doing a great job there, and I also like to say that I think Dino's an absolute shambles for cancelling so late on. But I think that's a good result because I know Renfrew are sitting 13th in the league, but Renfrew are a good side in terms that they're difficult to beat. They've only conceded 25 goals in 13 games, and to be a team who are doing the kind of bottom end of the table, that's not a lot of goals. Jimmy's done a phenomenal job, but Kev's one of those ones for me where he did really well at WOSFL, and then he's shown that he's a good manager at this level. And I think Conan could be really, really pleased with where they're sitting right now. Top 6 in that league is quite an achievement. Even if I hope they do as a former team of mine, but I hope they go up. But even if they don't, I think that it's definitely a positive for Conan and how well the season's gone for them.
Do you know what I found really interesting about Kevin when I spoke to him? Like, I think if you ask anybody in the game that doesn't know him, they probably think like he's one of these kind of coaching manual types, but he's pretty old school. You know, when you talk to him, like he said himself, he lets his coaching staff take most of the training. He hardly gets involved in any of it. And we had a few discussions about kind of youth football and development and stuff like that. And we're very aligned, him and I, probably in that way. But it was a really interesting conversation because the outside perception is probably different to what he is.
And I think with Kev, I don't know Kev overly well. I've spoken to him quite a few times and he's a really nice guy. But you bring in your coaching staff to coach. Like that, you give them the instruction, you tell them, I would like this or that done, right? And then you allow them to go and do that. And I think that's a sign of a good manager. It's like I touched on with Maxie, where I know that Josh does the bulk of the training at Pollock, but you need a manager who's willing to allow that to happen as well. So you don't want a manager who will micromanage every single part of the game. So I think that's credit to him as well because he's brought in guys who are clearly doing a good job.
Mm-hmm. Yep, okay. Into the first division, we'll not obviously cover every game. PG will be here all night.
I know.
Because we're already half an hour in and we've done one division. Big results for me in the first division. Darvel continue their resurgence under Nacho after he's cleared his email inbox. Lanark 4-2, sitting now fifth in the table. Looking good for one of those top 8 spots now, Darvel.
Oh, definitely. And see, the thing is, they've got a lot of pace up front with the Snow Leopards. So I think that it's funny because we spoke about it before, and I think a lot of Mick Oliver, I think he's a really good coach. Sometimes some guys just don't fit certain places, and Kev's obviously, Mick's obviously no fit at Darvel, but then you get Nacho Novos come in and they're just winning all the time. He's done a tremendous job. He's done really well with them, and it's another good win. I know Lanark they're one of the lower down teams in the league, sitting third bottom, but I still think that's a good result to go and put 4 past them.
I know, and Lanark, I know you're talking about Lanark there, but they obviously beat Cumbernauld last week, which I felt was a wee bit of a shocker. And then Cumbernauld have obviously beaten Gartcairn 4-0. We know what's happening at Gartcairn. They continue to slide down the table, but I suppose good for Cumbernauld to bounce back because they've been one of the kind of the stronger teams in the league, chasing those top 8 spots, now sitting third in the league.
It's funny, it shows how good a job that McStay and Darren Barr did at Gartcairn, that they've lost 4 or 5 in a row and they're still sitting second place.
I know.
I think I don't see how they'll manage to stay in the top 8. In my eyes, I think they'll just slide right out of it eventually. But Nizzy and Dolsey we've spoken before. I mean, see if anybody can win a league title with Royal Albert, who I don't ever remember Royal Albert winning anything in my whole time at this level. And I know Connor's doing a good job there just now, but you look the fact that they've been able to do that with Royal Albert a few years back, and then they're a good management team, and that's a decent result. A result that's expected, but again, they're another 3 points they've picked up. They're 7 points clear a 9th place and 3rd place. They're giving themselves a great chance at managing to stay in the league. Managing to go into the Premier League. And when was the last time Cumbernauld were in the Premier League?
I know, and that's what I'm saying. That makes last week's result even merrier. Shocker, considering the results they had in the run up to Christmas. But it's Irvine Meadow continue the march towards the title. I've said before that, I think I said last week, I don't see anybody catching them, and I stand by that. Good result, 2-1 against a good Vale of Clyde side yesterday.
It's a great result, and just funny, like if you didn't know about this level and you looked at the league table, and you're saying, Vale of Clyde are 12th, that's expected at top of the league we go and beat them. But Vale of Clyde are such a difficult team to beat, and they only ever really lose by the odd goal. Nobody ever really batters Vale of Clyde. John's done a tremendous job there, but I think the amount of credit that goes to Jamie, for when he came in, correct me if I'm wrong, it was roughly about a year ago, he took over and they were maybe bottom or second bottom in the league, and he's transformed that team in a year's time to a team fighting to not be relegated, to now cruising the division and absolutely guaranteed to be in the Premier League next season.
Yeah, I mean, they're 11 points clear. They've got a game in hand. St Rochs have got 4 in hand behind them. They're probably their only real challengers, although Med turned them over a couple of weeks ago. But I can't see anybody catching them because I think St Rochs will probably fall into the same kind of trap as maybe Auchinleck, Johnston Borough, where there's just too many games to catch up. Craig's just saying good result for Whitlets at last. Kilbirnie were on a decent run, they were, but I think they're still just Kilbirnie just kind of seem to shake off that inconsistency. But a really good result for Whitlets. We actually did this as one of our predictions on the radio on Saturday. Everybody took Kilbirnie, fancied a goal fest and Kilbirnie to win, but really strong result for Whitlets.
Great result for Whitlets. I know ultimately I don't think it'll mean anything. I think that they're the polar opposite for the Meda. I think the Meda could completely fall off a cliff just now and still be promoted, whereas Whitlets, they'd have to go and win out the next 14 games. They'd maybe need to go and win about 9 games to get promoted. But it's a really good result against Kilbirnie. And Kilbirnie, like you said, it must be so infuriating. I think they've got a good management team in place there. But you're still looking at the fact that Kilbirnie sitting 10th in the first division, to me, is ridiculous. I don't think that as a club it's anywhere near good enough. And that's no a slant on Colin and his team. But over the years, it's no good enough for a club of Kilbirnie's size to be sitting where they're sitting right now. And they still have a great chance of getting promoted, don't get me wrong. But they've won 5 games in 16 in the league. It's really not good enough.
I think if Kilbirnie can sneak into one of those top 8 spots, I'd say I'd probably be excited to see what Colin could put together in the Premier League. We saw what he did with Atherley when they were running about there. So I'd be excited to see what he can put together if they can sneak into one of those top 8s. And the last game was just a Drogheda 2, Muirkirk 2. Okay, we'll jump into
sorry, Johnny, can I just jump in on that game just because we played Muirkirk last week? Really impressed me. We were poor last week.
I'm going to talk about every game then. Is that what we're saying?
Sorry, my apologies. Just on this one. Like last week, we were really rusty and poor against Muirkirk. Granted, we had a a Stonewaller denied, penalty denied, and then 2 minutes later they got in part score, but they were thoroughly deserving another win. They really impressed me. That was we've spoken about them being a young side. They're actually not as young as I thought they were, and as other people think they were. But did you happen to see the red card for Sempe against?
I did.
That's a shocker. It's an absolute shocker for me. I don't know what the ref's seen. I know it's a kind of pixelated video I saw, right? But if anything, the foul looked like it was against him, and then he's kind of pushed the player out the way as he's came through him, and it's a terrible decision. Something that could make a big impact. But I just wanted to touch on. I thought Muir Cup were.
You know what I think?
Really
I think that see when you watch it, from my point of view, and this might, I think it does look as if there's a swinging arm. Now we're miles away on the video, right? So it's really difficult to tell. But that was my kind of like, even if he's no touched him or whatever, it looks as if he's throwing an arm at him. And if you do that, then you're giving the referee a decision to make. And unfortunately, nowadays, anytime a referee sees anything like that, he's going to pull out the red card. Do you know what I mean? But
I suppose it makes it easier.
We're looking at a video slowed down. In normal time, the referee, you'd imagine the referee's a good bit closer as well. If he sees an arm swinging out, then he's going to send them off. It's just...
Aye. I suppose it is one of those ones where it's maybe an easy decision to make if he's thrown an arm out. But
I've seen quite a few teams posting stuff this week about referees. So
I love it when they do. I think that I won't date myself, but I could have posted one. It was a wee bit contentious in our game, but aye.
Okay, into the second division, Bells Hill 2-1 win against Ashfield, what they would kind of expect, but good for Bells Hill to take advantage of Threave dropping points at Maryhill.
Aye, great result for, I know we're talking about Bells Hill, but great result for Mark's Maryhill team. It's because Threave haven't lost a single game, and I know it was a draw, but really good result for Maryhill to try and keep themselves in the hunt. But Bells Hill, obviously a bit of change with Jonny stepping down recently, and I know his assistant stepped in. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, but that was a very much needed result, and it brings them back level in points with Threave. 13 wins for 15 games for Bells Hill. It's a massively impressive season.
Mm-hmm. No, it is, and it's. I think for what we were talking about with Kevin last week was the fact that when Bells Hill lose that game to Threave, you wonder what way it's going to go, kind of thing. And Threave have maybe not a stumble because they've not lost a game all season. Do you know what I mean? But they've opened the door a wee bit. They've kind of erased the advantage that they got by beating Bells Hill. And Bells Hill have came back and won their 2 games again, like we said, against Ashfield, which you would expect them to do. And like you say, Greenock carry on their good charge up the league, beating Lark Hall 4-1. Maybole played Lark Hall. We were pretty impressed. They beat us twice this season. We got a point last week. So for Greenock to turn them over 4-1, really good result for Gary, doing a really good job.
Lark Hall is such a funny team, because I know it's now going back a couple of seasons. I thought they were great when I was at Craigmark. They were a very good team. They're a team that if they go and beat Threave, you're a wee bit surprised, but you're not completely shocked. But if they go and lose to Fourth, you're kind of not shocked either. That's the type of team there. But like you said, Gary, I honestly can't speak highly enough of the job Gary's doing at Greenock. Very, very limited funds, and they're sitting in 5th place, looking like a great bet to go up for a second season in a row. I just think he's doing a great job, and it was a really solid win for them down at Ravenscraig.
Yeah, and we'll just run through the other results if you're listening. Audio, 4th, Kilsyth Rangers 4. Bonnet drew 2 each with Maybole. Again, George was maybe feeling that they could have won the game again. I don't think the referee was gaining any plaudits in that game, but I think for George, what I've kind of said to him is we've went to Lark Hall last week, a team that put 7 past us at home last time and then beat us 4-3 at the start of the season and got a point, and then Bonneton beat us 4-0 at home at the start of the season, and we've went away and got another point. So I think it's 2 good points, but you know what George is like, it's hard to convince him of that sometimes.
I think I'm obviously a bit further removed from Maybole and Muir, but you know, I would like to see, because George was really good with us when we did the radio show and stuff, I'd like to see Maybole go up. But I actually think it'd be better if they didn't. I think that another year at this level where George can go and add additional players and try and build the team a bit more, and then go and be a proper competitor in the second division next season. It's not the end of the world. And let's be honest, Bonneton are then they're having a really good season. So a 2-2 draw away to Bonneton, it's not the end of the world.
Do you know something, PGC, looking at the league table there, and this might not be like a mad prediction, but I think the top 7 will go up, and then I think it's a fight for 8th. I do. I think I look at this league and think this is the league that there'll be the least change over the course of the rest of the season. I can't see. Obviously, Threave and Bells Hill will be fine. Bonneton, they've played a lot more games. They've played 3 or 4 more games than a lot of the teams. Blantyre, Greenock, Maryhill, Lesmahago. I think they'll all finish in the top 8, and then it's just really who sneaks into that top 8 between probably Kilsyth, Cambuslang, Larkhall, Maybole, Thorn. Do you know what I mean? I think there's one spot left, personally. That's just my view.
I would tend to agree. I think the Thorn are, if they can kind of fix themselves and get over the kind of wee bit of run of form they've been on, the Thorn might be able to manage a third promotion in a row because they've got so many games in hand on teams. I mean, you're looking at the 4 games in hand on Maybole, 4 games in hand on Larkhall, 5 games in hand on Kilsyth, and they're only 4 points behind. So it's very, very possible. But I do agree with you. I think that group of 5 teams will be fighting out for 8th spot, and it'll be quite interesting to see how it goes because there's definitely quality in all 5 teams, but there's definitely poor results in all 5 teams as well.
Yeah, and the Cycling Chainsaw chap's just saying they've got the wrong venue there for the Threave game. It says Townhall Arena, which is, of course, where Bonneton play, and it should be Meadow Park. But take it up with the West of Scotland Football League Facebook page because that's where I've stolen it from, mate. So, but don't tell them that you saw it on here. Just pretend that you saw it on the Facebook page if you can, please, mate. Much appreciated. Okay, into the 3rd division. Look at that, PG. I full cared.
I know, it's brilliant to see. It's really good to see. It was it was quite an interesting day yesterday in the 3rd division as well, where ourselves playing Dorai, Ardere playing Knightswood, Port Glasgow. I know Easterhouse are a wee bit lower down, but Port Glasgow playing Easterhouse is with Danny Simpson taking the job there as well. It was quite an interesting day in the 3rd division yesterday.
Aye, so how was your game against Dorai? Take a deep breath.
Do you know, it was not a game for the purist. Dorai, in my eyes, I thought that we got a man sent off after 25 minutes. It's one of those ones where it's no red card for me. He's come in pretty heavy, caught him on top of the foot, but it's definitely no red card in my eyes. But at the same time, I can also see why the referee has thought initially that it's a red card because it looked like he was higher up than he was, but the contact's made on the top of his foot. Dorai player's done really well to nip the ball away for Jack as he's come in. It's one of those ones. It's no red for me, but I don't think you can slaughter the referee too much for saying it was a red. We went 1 up in the first, I think it was 40 seconds. We went 1-0 up. And both teams looked ropey at the back. Both were decent enough going forward, but ropey at the back. And Dorai had most of the possession without, in my eyes, creating a great deal of chances. They had a shout for a penalty that where I was, it was the opposite side of where I was. I couldn't really tell, but Dorai seemed pretty convinced it was a penalty. And then we scored late on, and sadly our goalkeeper he's just had a moment like goalkeepers do sometimes and completely misjudged the flight of a ball and let it go in. And they've managed to, in a sense, steal the point. But I'd say the draw was probably a fair result. They'll probably think they deserve to win it, but I don't think they created enough chances to say that they deserve to win it. So in my eyes, a draw was probably a fair result.
Aye, and I think for you guys, obviously Dorai sitting 5th in the league. You guys are now 7th in the table, if I'm right.
Yeah.
I think if you'd asked anybody before the start of the season, they would probably have pegged Yoker as one of the kind of bottom markers without being disrespectful. So it's been a massively impressive season so far, and I suppose it's just about keeping yourself in that position now, and points away to places like Dorai will do that. And I know you're maybe a bit disappointed not to come away with 3, but I'm sure if somebody had said to Dom at 5-3 on Saturday, would you take a point right now? He probably would have.
Aye, I think it's disappointing in the manner that we we lost the final goal. But see, to be fair, I mean, looking at it, that's 5 games I've been in at Yoker, and I'm not saying this because I've been there, but it's 5 games I've been in at Yoker. 5 games ago, we were sitting with 10 points for 9 games, and now we're sitting with 26 points for 14 games. So we've picked up quite a few points recently, and we're a good side, much better side than I thought that Yoker were going to be. But going to Dorai have been the team who we've spoken about it previously. Everybody about Dorai have pretty much beaten them. We've taken 4 points for them this season. So I think that if you looked at it before the game and said we were short of players, we had a few injuries, if he kind of vital areas, take him away with a point, I think it's a good result for us. But Dorai are an effective team. They've got a bit of quality on that side.
Mm-hmm. Aye, no, definitely. Cycling Chainsaw Chap was just saying good result for Craigmarket. It's 6-0 away to St Anthony's. St Anthony's have no their troubles to seek this year. It's a good solid result, keeps them clear at the top of the league. But for me, game of the day would have been Ardere v Knightswood if I was going to pick a game at this division to go and watch, and really good result for Ardere coming away 4-2 victors.
Sean's got to be delighted with that because Knightswood, I know we beat them before Christmas, but Knightswood are a good side. They pushed Pollock right to the death last week as well, and that's Pollock we're talking about, who are in a good vein of form just now. So, that's a really, really good win for Ardere. Sore one for Knightswood. I know that Michael will be upset with that, but I think you're talking about the second division, where it's probably the one that's the most set on what's going to happen. There'll be a few teams fighting out for the 8th place, but I genuinely believe that anybody down to us in 7th place, maybe Dino will not like me saying this, but excluding Ardere, I think you've got 6 teams that could potentially win this league if they are able to string a good run of form together.
You mean Girvan, excluding Girvan?
Sorry, Girvan. That's too many pints.
I think just because they've played 18 games, do you know what I mean? So that you're assuming that teams are going to pick up. But I think, for me, I think it's probably Craigmark's to lose, just with the strength and depth that they've got in their squad, and Craig's just mentioning there that they brought Graham Neal back in on the coaching staff as well, to add a bit of experience for the run-in as well. So I think it's Craigmark's probably to lose. But in terms of the top 8, I think, again, we said that the last division we don't see much change. I think you could go all the way down to Glenville in 11th. Do you know, we'll all be fighting for those top 8 spots. So I think this will be an exciting one.
That's like I said, I genuinely believe, like we say, it's Craigmark's to lose. They've been the best team this season. They're 11 wins, 2 draws, 1 defeat. They've quite clearly been the best team so far, but they've got quite a few teams about them to play. So I think down to 7th with ourselves, for talking's sake, if we manage to win the next 3 or 4 games, we're right in the hunt. You've got Dorai, who win the next 3 or 4 games, right in the hunt. Knightswood the same, Ardere the same. Port Glasgow starting to pick up wins again. It is anybody's league. I think Craigmark are rightly the favourites, but I do believe that you could be looking at 5 or 6 teams who could potentially win it, and then you're maybe looking at another 4 or 5 to fight it out for 7th and 8th place.
I think when you look at this league, that it's the most, for me, it's the most exciting fixtures when the fixtures come out. Like, you're looking at these games that have taken place yesterday, and they're all games that you would want to go and see, like, in terms of what could happen round about the leagues, you know. And I see Craigmark play Ardere next week as well, so that'll be a cracker.
That's the thing, Johnny. You're saying that they play Ardere next week, but then a week later they've got Port Glasgow.
Aye.
So we could be how it is. You could be looking at Craigmark potentially sealing the league in the next 2 weeks. In my eyes, I think if they win the 2 of them, they are red hot favourites. But Ardere have shown their quality. Port Glasgow, let's not pretend that Port Glasgow can't go and beat anybody in this league.
Are you going to give Port Glasgow some credit tonight? Are you still?
Do you know what? I think I know that everybody on paper would say that was an expected win yesterday, but I think that Port Glasgow can away to Stepford to beat Easterhouse is a really impressive result, and they're playing the Ants next week, and it's one of those ones that's a bit awkward because I'm involved in that league now, but if the Port don't win against the Ants next week, it's a really, really poor result for them. just based on current form.
Mm-hmm. You know the thing for me, and I'm going to check this right now, but Craig might have played so many home games as well. Now I think I'm right with that. Let me just check quickly.
So you look at Craig Mark, the last.
Wait there, PG, right? So they played St Anthony's away yesterday, and then they've played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the last 9. Eight of the last 10 they've played at home.
9 of the last 12. Mm-hmm. And all competitions have been at home.
And they're so strong at home. Like they win a lot of games at home, and they play RD at home next week. But then they've got to go to Port Glasgow. They go to Glasgow Uni, who are a good side the week after that. Then they play Girvan. They come to Hughes at the end of February. So I mean it's going to be they're going to have an interesting finish to the year. Do you know what I mean? Just with the away games, because I think they've got and when you look into April, they go to Finnart, Kello, Dalry, Glasgow United. Now they're games that they probably should win, but you've still got to go away from home, and it's never easy. And at this level, but I think they've won 9 in a row in the league. Do you know what I mean? Their form's incredible, and
I think deserve to be where they are.
Aye, absolutely. And I can see them. For me, they've just got too much quality on their side, especially in the forward areas. I think they'll go on and win the league. But are you going to give Port Glasgow some credit? Yeah.
No, definitely. Look, if it wasn't for the fact that I was involved with Yoker
in this league, message. He obviously doesn't.
Tam knows how I feel about the Port, and my criticism is not of Tam.
It's from a place of love. That is what you say.
It's been frustrated that a team that you really care about on the day as well. But I suppose I don't want them to do as well now because it being at Yoker. But I just think that for me, I think the Port have got so much quality in this level that I think that they should probably be. I know they're only a point off top, but they've played 3 games more. I just think that it should be tighter than it is with the quality that they've got. But as it was when I played with the Port, there's always the moments of madness where they had a couple of games where they'll get multiple players sent off. So it's no something that really changes.
Aye, no, definitely. Okay, we'll jump into the 4th division, and again, full card, which is incredible. And I think for me, and I know this is, I think EKYM beating Carluke 2-0. EKYM are on an absolute tear at the minute now, sitting 2 points off Villa leaving at the top with a game in hand. But for me, half of the story here is Carluke. We're kind of off a cliff a wee bit, sitting down in ninth now.
Do you know what the thing is? And we were so complimentary at Carluke at the start of the season.
And I feel bad because I think it's sort of ever since Thomas was on the show.
He's got the curse of pyramid promotions. But you look at the recent results. Yesterday, 2-0 to EKYM. The week before, 4-0 to Villa leaving. They had quite a heavy layoff. Drew with BSC. They lost the Rock in the Cup. Beat Rossvale, but I think that's a gimme. Lost to Saltcoats, lost to East Kilbride, lost to Irvine Vicks, lost to Gretna in the Cup, lost to Talbot in the Cup, lost to Aldeer in the Cup. Narrowly beat Eglinton. So that you're really looking at a result. The last time they did a result that really mattered was in September, early September. Since then, I genuinely don't mean to make it seem like I'm slaughtering Tam and Carluke right, but that's not good enough. After the start they've just fallen off a cliff. The fact that you've allowed Saltcoats to overtake you, St Peters, who I think there's something we need to mention. I think that the recent run of form for St Peters has been excellent considering where they were maybe 8-9 weeks ago. But great result for EKYM. They've really shown a bit of quality in the last 6 or 7 games.
Mm-hmm. I know, definitely. And I think it was because Thomas was on after the Gretna, the senior Scottish game. So I'm sorry, Thomas, for ruining your season. If that was the case. But another team as well that I'm slightly concerned about recent results is Irvine Vicks. PG, I don't know about you, but I mean that's them. They lose yesterday 1-0 to Giffnock, 6-1 to EKYM. Obviously lost to Saltcoats as well. They're now sitting down in 7th place in the table. They've got a couple of games in hand, obviously, to get them back into contention up the top end. But I was expecting them to be right up the very top, challenging all the way through the season this year.
Well, I'm talking about Carluke there, and we're saying we're going back to September for them to have a proper, meaningful result when they beat Eglinton. For me, Irvine Vicks, I mean, they had two really good results in October where they beat Carluke and they beat East Kilbride. Since the 18th of October, I mean, they lost to Saltcoats, they narrowly beat BSC, battled by shots in the cup, beat Cumbernauld, Campbelltown, which doesn't really mean a great deal, no offence to them, battered by EKYM and then beaten by Giffnock yesterday. So you're looking at 3 months since they've had a meaningful result as well. And I think it shows maybe that's a mindset issue because they've clearly got enough quality in the team, but they're in a position where Carluke, if they can get it together, have a game in hand, can overtake them. Royal Albert, have a couple of games in hand, can overtake them. Saltcoats, really well done to Stevie and Davy there. They're doing really well to be in the top 8 position. Might be too much for them to stay there, but
I was just saying there, big turn up for Saltcoats recently. Wasn't that long ago they were struggling to get a squad. The other team, listening to the season preview, Cycling Chainsaw Chap, somebody in this show did tip Saltcoats to be in the top 8. So, and it was a baldy guy with glasses. So I don't know who he is, but he must know his stuff.
That is the thing. You've got to take your hat off to them because they've done a really good job in it. I know we're talking about Irvine Vicks, but for JD and Neil and Gav, that's a great result for Giffnock yesterday because I think they've had quite a poor season. I expected a bit better for them, but that is a really good result for them yesterday. 1-0 clean sheet, 3 points. They're still probably going to be too far away for promotion, but they're not a million miles away from it if they can get a couple of results together.
Aye, and just a couple of comments in the chat there. Paul Mooney's just saying he was at St Peters and Ross Vale, spoiled by referees' decisions. Seems to be a bit of a theme this weekend. Game of 2 halves, but Kenny's got... it's funny you mention that, Paul, because I think going by Kenny's report last week, I haven't spoken to him this week, but it was the same. It sounds as if it was the same as last week, so just want to try and put it together for 90 minutes.
Aye, well, I'd hope Paul Mooney was there yesterday since he's the main man at St Peters.
Oh, is he? Right, sorry. Right. Okay. Apologies, Paul. Apologies.
But I think that, like I touched on with St Peters, Kenny's done a really good job there. And I know that they've improved on the numbers in the committee. I know Ross Vale having a really poor season.
You know something? It's funny because Kenny was always saying to me at the start of the season, obviously they didn't maybe start the season that they wanted to, and Kenny I was always messaging Kenny, and he was kind of saying like, "Oh, we'll get players back, things will turn, we'll get it going." And you know that way in the back of your mind, you're thinking, is he just being like blindly positive, like some managers can be? But it's been proven to be true. He's been true to his word, and now they're sitting at the top end of the table.
Aye, and that's the thing. I believe that there was a baldy guy with foot glasses on this that said St Peters would get promoted this year, but I was really disappointed with the sense that they had such a slow start. But I knew eventually they would start to pick up, and they've really shown that they won't win the league. I mean, saying that, they're only 5 points off top of the table, so again, 3 or 4 wins in a row. It's no out with the realms of possibility that they could put in a serious title challenge, but I think that they're starting to put a wee bit together, and I think they'll have enough to be able to keep themselves in the top 8 to get promoted.
Do you know what we should do at the end of the season? We should do a watch along where we replay that prediction show for the start of the season.
I'm actually going to go back close to the end of the season, and I will take everybody's predictions. And I know Des is no longer with the channel, and
he's no longer with us. He's not passed away.
God rest him for Pyramid Promotions.
He's dead.
Paul's the same as well. He's dead to us as well. But we'll maybe look at getting the two of them back on, and we'll do an end of season show and see how our predictions looked.
And then finally, just Barry McColgan's got in touch just to say there that the long trip to Campbelltown, 1-0, should have been 2, but better a save, 3 and up the road, and it is up the road for there. And obviously BSC know the troubles to seek. I'm hoping to see if Barry's up for coming on the show maybe next week to go into a bit more detail about the situation and what's going on at BSC.
Well, obviously I'd seen there'd been some social media stuff about correct me if I'm wrong, but they're going to be separating from the main club, and I hope that it works out all right, because I know they're sitting 12th in the league, but I think that the guys deserve a huge amount of credit for where they've brought the club from where they were last season, because last season was quite difficult at times, and one game I think they won out of 20 30 games, and I just think that this season's been so much better for them, and it's really good to see, because I actually thought a couple of years ago they were actually a decent side in that league. No a top 3 side, but they were a side who could impact what was going to happen with kind of teams about them. So it's good to see them picking up, and I hope if Barry comes on, he can shed a wee bit of light on what's going on there.
Aye, definitely. And just while we're in the 4th division, PG, we'll just kind of touch on a wee comment for Craig. Just asked a question if we get any thoughts on the teams that are potentially coming into the league with the reconstruction. Just saying that he believes Anbank, Castlemilk, CSC, Edelwood, St Patrick's Sporting Academy, Burnbank, Gartcosh, and Saltire FC have been provisionally accepted into the league. You get any thoughts? The only one I've really got thoughts on is two. St Pat's, I know from the amateurs, and I think it'd be a good addition. I know they've tried to get in before and were close when Knightswood get granted entry, so I think they would be a good contributor to the league, and I'd like to see them in. And obviously, I'd love to see Anbank back in the setup, an old traditional team but was a junior team for many, many, many years, and it's a shame that they're no longer. So it'd be great to see them back as well.
I was talking to somebody about this last week actually, and let's be honest, Craig's an exceptionally knowledgeable man at this level of football. Anbank, going through the ones I know or I have heard are being accepted, Anbank, which is a given, and I think, like you said, it'll be great to see them back after, what's that been, 3-4 years since they were in a level. Was it the COVID?
It might even be longer than that.
It might even have been COVID time, so it's great to see them. Castlemilk, they've obviously had Ballia Park's been done up. It's looking a lot better, and I'm hearing really good things about, obviously, Castlemilk's quite a deprived area, and I'm hearing quite good things about what the club are trying to do within the community, which I think is great. Edelwood, I don't know a great deal about Edelwood, but I remember...
Well, they're for Hamilton.
Aye, they're for Hamilton. Talking about 10, 15 years ago, Edelwood were one of the best amateur teams about, so hopefully that's something to get back to St Pat's. For me, are an excellent side and will be a great addition. One that surprised me was St Patrick's Sporting Academy, because I didn't know anything about them until the person I spoke to last week told me about them. That's an interesting one. Gartcosh, they've got the pitch they've got is honestly the surface is top draw, but they're going to need to do a bit of work, because you actually need to come for the social club to cross a main road to get to their park. So that's something that's going to need a bit of work. Salter FC are quite an interesting one. I don't know if anybody's similar to myself, where they started following us on Instagram, and I was like, I don't know who this is, and it said Scotland's newest semi-professional club. Still didn't know who they were, and apparently, I don't know if this is true, but Craig's just put it on, so exactly what I was about to say. Salter FC posting about being the leading AI club, whatever that means. Social media is interesting. I'd heard that they were going to be picking the team based on AI. I have no idea how that would go about.
Right, so if anybody from Salter FC is watching the show and wants to come and have a chat, wants to come on the show and have a chat with us about your plans for the future, then we'd be delighted to have you on and get a wee bit of chat with us, because this sounds really interesting.
Innovative.
I know, absolutely. Listen, we're all for new innovations. So we comment there for Stevie Wilson, Saltcoats manager, saying great show. Cheers for the praise from the baldy guy with specs. So happy days. But I know it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the new teams coming in. Like I said, I'm all for it as long as they've got something to offer, which I'm sure they will have, and I'm sure the West of Scotland Football League will be doing their due diligence to make sure that they're suitable. Okay. Into the West of Scotland Cup. Quickly, we'll just cover this quickly. PG Auchinleck, off the back of Celtic game, as we spoke about, beat Thornleywood 3-1. Fairly straightforward result for them. I think it was. We were kind of discussing on Saturday morning whether it would be a struggle to get them up for it, if that makes sense, after the highs of playing against Celtic. But job done.
Aye, that is it. It's job done. Adam's done a really good job at Thornleywood, but Talbot should have too much, and they did have too much on the day. 3-1 result. I don't think there's a great deal to say on that.
Yep, and I suppose the only really kind of interesting result, if you like, Johnston Borough go to St Roch's and win 2-1. That's the one. I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff on social media. The St Roch's punters aren't happy with a couple of decisions.
Well, I actually spoke to somebody involved with St Roch's this morning, and they said to me that they thought there was a decision late on that was a really poor decision that had an impact on the final result.
There's somebody, I saw something on X that had said that there was two decisions. There was one that they were screaming for a penalty. In my opinion, is never a penalty. It's just a coming together, and the St Roch's player goes to the ground far too easy. It's not a penalty. You'd be raging if that was given against you. And then they have a goal disallowed as well. There's the St Roch's player goes to kick the ball as the Johnston Borough player heads it, and if you're the defender, you want a free kick for that every day of the week. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those ones where it is probably soft. The Johnston Borough defender has probably bought it, but I don't see the big hoo-ha about it. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, the comment I had sent to me earlier was we lost 2-1 to Johnston Borough, scored an equaliser in the last minute, and ref chopped it off for a foul, which the person I'm speaking to said, which I am biased, but I thought it was never a foul. So there's potential that the Rock have had a goal chopped off it in their eyes wasn't a foul.
Do you know something? I think if you're a Rock fan, you think it is. It's never a foul. And if you're a Johnston Borough fan, you think it is. It's one of those ones. It can go either way. And I suppose it's just whatever way the referees want to get it on the day. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But I don't think it was exceptionally egregious, put it that way.
Right, okay. Well, I've not seen it, but if you're somebody who's coming from an unbiased position, then I would be inclined to take your view on it, because I know that yesterday, like I'm talking about with our game, we're all gone mental saying the red card's not a red card, but I'd imagine on the flip side, Doriah saying it is a red card, so sometimes you can't help but have your bias get involved.
Listen, that's what it's all about. It's all about supporting your team, and you do anything to kind of back your team to the hilt and hope for the best. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose just one last one. Neilston 2, Hurlford 2. Neilston taking Premier League opposition all the way to penalties, losing in penalties. But probably come out it with a fair bit of credit, although Hurlford have not been in the best of runs.
No. But what I would say is, how have Neilston not been able to score a single penalty?
I know.
That's quite worrying in itself. But that's maybe a wee result that Hurlford needed. Like we said, they started the season really well, and then they've had a bit of a dip, so it's maybe a result that they needed. But Johnny, I've just had a message from a good friend of the show who has given me the phone number of the guy that's involved at Saltire, so I can get that on to you for the next couple of weeks if you're interested.
Maybe it'll just be a computer.
Hello, Johnny.
It'll just be
will play
AI.
It'll
just be AI responses. I'd love to see some of the AI responses, some of the questions we get.
No.
In the chat.
We've not been asked to kiss each other this time, so that's been
I know. I've not done those many bots tonight. They must be busy. There must be other stuff going on YouTube this Sunday evening. All right, mate. I think that's everything, and I don't see any other questions or anything like that in the chat that we've not covered. We've covered the new teams and stuff like that. So, mate, thanks for rushing home for your
day out. Wouldn't miss it.
Your day out. I tell you, it was a thoroughly enjoyable game, the Hearts Celtic game. I don't know. I always think when you go to the pub, it's difficult. Sometimes you're not really paying attention, but I was watching it at home. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I thought Hearts were a better team, to be honest with you. I know, again, this is where we talk about bias. I don't think that it's a red card for Trusty. I think that the referees got it right the first time. But I genuinely thought Hearts were a better team. And Celtic were maybe fortunate to come away with a draw.
Aye. I mean, just set pieces, I suppose. It's funny, somebody mentioned in the chat there that Auchinleck had a couple of chances for set pieces. It just looked so fragile, didn't it? Anything the ball comes in the box. Do you know what was interesting? So see when Trusty get booked, I'm, as you know, I'm not a Celtic fan, but has Trusty played nearly every game this year?
No, he hardly kicked a ball when Rodgers was there, and then since Rodgers left, I think he's played every single game. Because
it was only his second booking of the season.
Aye, I know. For a centre half, it's a bit surprising.
Maybe I'm too old school. Do you know what I mean? He's not a centre half. 2 bookings by January.
Trusty's not a big kind of battering ram type centre half. But what was your? I know we're we're talking about something that a lot of guys don't want to listen to. But what was your view on the red card? Do you believe it was a red?
I can see why it's given, but I think it's one of those occasions that seems to be happening more and more, where decisions are made by people that don't understand the game.
Aye, because you can see that the striker's going away for goal, the ball's going away for goal, Dane Murray's coming in behind. I just think my issue is that the referee's made the decision. I don't really see how it's a clear and obvious error that he's made that gets taken to VAR. But let's be honest. I mean, you look at I've got a couple of mates that are St Mirren fans, and I've been to a couple of St Mirren games this season. Some of the decisions they've had against them have been absolutely shocking. So I don't think it's necessarily a Celtic and Rangers issue, to be honest.
Well, the biggest indictment I can probably give you in VAR is the fact that every Premier League team had, unless the game was on the telly, they had to opt in to using VAR in the Scottish Cup, and every single one that could opted out. So that tells you everything about the club's and people will say, "Oh, it's about the money. It's about the money." It's no, it's not. It's about the confidence in the actual system, the operating system, and the people.
Jonny, I don't even think that VAR is the issue. I think that the officials are the issue.
No, they are, because they're watching things on the screen they don't understand.
Aye, I do believe
what's happening in the game. Like you and I could sit in there and we could say, right, you know when somebody's trying to do something, you know when somebody's mistimed a tackle, you know when somebody's trying to kick the ball, but the striker's just got there just in front of them, and do you know what I mean? You know all these kind of things, but these guys don't have a Scooby.
And that's the thing, is they understand the laws of the game better than we do, but the problem is it's so objective and it's due to your interpretation that, like you said, see, a lot of these guys have, I don't even like to say, oh, you have to have played at a good level, because I don't actually believe you have to have played at a good level. I just think you have to have played football to understand how certain motions are made, and like you're saying, where a player's going to kick the ball and stuff like that. And I think that
but they can even have somebody, they can have an ex-player in advising them.
I know.
Just not making the decisions. Like, obviously the referee can make the decisions based on the rule book, but even have an ex-player that could advise them, like saying, look, just to consider that this is maybe a wee bit mistimed, or this is maybe a wee bit rash, or no, look, he has tried to do him there. Do you know what I mean? That, because as a player, like when you've those nasty ones that you actually try and. I saw one that was it was actually, I don't know how I see these things on X, the algorithms, if it's not, but basically, as it was the Rangers under 17s, they were playing Mohammed Select or something like that over in the Middle East, and one of the boys gets sent off because of VAR, and it was one of those ones where he's trying to block a kick, almost like the boy at Muir Cup yesterday, but he has actually caught the boy on the shins, and do you know what I mean, that kind of thing, and it looks terrible, but he's no tried to do him. He's just reckless, and he's caught him. And it's one of those ones where an ex-player can give you that opinion and that altered type of view, rather than just saying, well, look, he studs it up, and he's caught him in the shins, and he's raked down his shins, so he's got to be red carded. You know what I mean? So,
and it's also you're saying that's quite similar to our red card yesterday. See, like when, and again, that's why I'm not overly criticising the referee. See, when you see it in real time, the Dorai players done really well, nicked the ball, and our players came right through and caught him. But see, when you watch it back, because we have the VO games, like, it's blatantly obvious that our player is very close to getting the ball. He catches him on top of the foot. It's 100% a yellow card. But it's no like he's went studs and he's went massively high. He's just missed it. And the Dorai player's done really well just to nick it away. Again, I'm not criticising the referee too much. I mean, he's there himself, and he doesn't have the view of
that. No linesman doesn't help, and it doesn't. It wouldn't be me doing it, put it that way.
No, but I do agree with you. I think that too many times you get these guys who have never really played, and they don't quite understand the mechanisms of the movements that people make and stuff. But it's here now. What we're going to do?
I know that's it. Although I was at an event with Dougie Smith, the ex-referee, last week, and he was trying to recruit me.
Is that right?
Aye, so because I did it before, I did the course before, but I never saw it through. But no thanks, Dougie, no thanks. So as much as I like you, right, mate. Listen, so if you enjoyed that last wee 15-minute chat about VAR, you can let us know, and anything else you want us to talk about. But PG, good show as always.
Yeah,
we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Aye, definitely.
couple of weeks, and we'll see how we can
I'm
wrangle
just
up.
I'm going to nip away because I am busting for a pee, man.
No, that's fine, mate. Listen, remember, thanks very much to PG for joining us. And if you are watching us on YouTube, please hit the like button. Just do it now. If you're watching on the mobile version, do it as well. If you're listening in audio form, download the episode, rate and review in your podcast network. Sponsors: Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, GLA Chauffeurs, and VSN Sport. Don't forget to check us out on East End Community Radio as well. 159 goals in 39 games, averages exactly 4 goals a game. So we're still above that 4 goals mark where we like to be in the west of Scotland. So remember, if you are looking for value for money, dig out a tenner, go and watch your local West of Scotland Football League team because I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Until next Sunday at 7 o'clock, I've been Jonny Baillie. He's been PG. Take care of yourselves and each other. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.